Hey guys, this is episode 51 of Sam Square Battles. How are you?
Very well.
Our guest today is CEO of crypto sports gambling platform BetU, which is going to the moon. Paul Rogash, how are you, mate?
I'm doing very well, boys. How are you?
Pretty well. So we were just talking about you in Bali, eh?
Yeah, so I came over to Bali just thankfully the day the borders shut before the corona lockdown. So from a selfish perspective, it's been an amazing experience over here. The empty waves and the beautiful beaches, as I was explaining before, even Kuta's such a beautiful spot now when there's no one there, but it's obviously sad for, the tourist economy. But in terms of the surfing and stuff, it's probably, I don't know if it's ever been better since the 70s or something. So that's what the locals say anyway.
Where are you surfing at? What beach, bro?
Mostly in Uluwatu, Impossibles, sort of the go-to.
And how's the general life around there? Is it a lot of mask wearing, or they don't give a fuck?
I think there is in some places, but then a lot when just a general day at the beach and stuff, there's no masks or anything.
Yeah.
But so at supermarkets you need to wear one, and pharmacies, but other than that, it's pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting experience, that's for sure. Like now Canggu to Uluwatu is 45 minutes, whereas before it used to take, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it's just such a beautiful island, as I'm sure you know. And it's like now with just less people, it's been an incredible experience.
Mm. So, mate, how did you get involved with BetU?
Yeah, and give us a rundown of it for the people.
Well, so beforehand, my company was we did law firm marketing in America, and then I was over here during Corona, and most of like the work and stuff was quite remote with lawyers SEO. So I'd invested into a company called Sharda, and they weren't doing very well in terms of the marketing, and they were meant to be releasing their mainnet not long into the future, back sort of May last year. And so I took over as head of marketing there. It went like 30x in the first couple of months, but then they failed to deliver the technology that they were going to roll out. And then sort of the founders, there wasn't many devs left, and sort of got to the truth of it. They'd ran out of most of their money. So I moved on from there and then took over as head of marketing at Kasha in December. And they were going to release US dollar bank accounts where you would actually have a bank account and you could buy and sell crypto directly into your bank account in America. So it was a pretty awesome product of what was meant to happen. So I took over there, and we went, that was in December, we went about 25x to February, and then there was no USD account. So they were getting pushed back a week. And then got to like mid-March or something, and then they said they're putting it off indefinitely. And then I just left Kasha because it was put in my resignation, went for a surf trip to the Mentawais, and come up with the concept of BetU. I thought when we thought of the idea, we're actually on the boat, and I couldn't understand why it's not really been done before, which is really surprising, because the token actually makes a lot of sense, where if you're having people betting against each other from different countries, to have a single currency actually makes a lot of sense. It's not just about having a crypto for the sake of having a crypto. If you've got someone in Germany betting against someone in Hong Kong, for example, you need a single currency. And is that US dollars? Is that euros? Is that, USDT, whatever it is? So to have a single betting currency actually makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And we built out a team pretty fast. Got a big team of developers. There's about probably 15 to 18 people working on it now in terms of the dev. It's coming along really well. And then in terms of, we had a couple of random issues where it was with BetU, and I couldn't believe it, but when we were doing the public sale, we went to a few influencers, and the influencers that I'd worked with before. And I thought, I'd give them a call and they'll give it a promotion. Yeah. And they turned around and said, I don't promote gambling. I was like, what? You're promoting these shit coins that are going to fail just because they're lacing your pockets, and you're saying you won't promote gambling on real sport that actually has an outcome. Like Tom Brady's trying to win that game of football, you know what I mean? Like you have no idea what these projects are doing. So that was a little bit of a hurdle we had to overcome. And or we're still overcoming, but that was the logic behind BetU Fantasy, which I'm extremely excited about, which is basically a no-risk game where we'll fund fantasy from the BetU bookmaker side, but it's basically for worldwide, for anyone to be able to place fantasy bets on sports, and the people who win the most money at the end of the week, like fantasy money, then win real money. So it's a great way to give back and really take advantage of the huge airdrop communities around the world. And obviously there's huge fans for all sports, whether it's English Premier League or the UFC, and we'll create different leagues and get a huge volume of support behind BetU, which I'm really excited about. And it takes away all the issues with potentially advertising and things for some of the influencers and advertising channels. So yeah, that's a basic rundown of it.
And so you guys use smart contracts, and you also, I read that you also have like a Betfair kind of model where it's person to person, but then you also have the other model where it's through a bookie. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, there's the peer-to-peer model, which will be like Betfair, but as one of the issues with Betfair is liquidity, and so having the bet, we're calling it the bet maker and bet taker, where they would say back and lay. So by having when you go with any marketplace, you need to attract both sides, say like the buyer and seller on eBay, or for our case, the bet maker and bet taker. It's going to take some time to attract the volume for both sides of a bet, and for all the markets we want to go into. So say if we start off with English Premier League, there might be a game that doesn't have many people taking the bets or making the bets. And so then it's a bad user experience while we're starting. So that's when we've partnered up with BetRadar, who will provide us all the odds feeds and will actually offer a full bookmaking service. So it'll be very much similar to a Bet365. And BetRadar provide the services for most of the major bookmakers worldwide. So we just plug into that, all the odds, that guarantees liquidity, so anyone could be able to log in and place a bet straight away. And the concept is that we'll have, say, standard market odds here, and then the peer-to-peer will be able to beat those odds, which is awesome for us as a company anyway, because it's a better user experience and we're not taking any risk on the peer-to-peer side. So we're basically taking the best of both worlds with the Betfair model and the Bet365 model, and then plugging it in together. So they'll be side by side. So you'll be able to choose the best odds. And yeah, it'll be a great user experience. The platform's coming along really well. Yeah. So it's just about, because we're not all for profit, because we have the token, there's so much more things we can do in terms of gamifying the experience and improving the user experience, which we're really excited about.
When do you guys aim to get live?
So we'll go live. We're going to bring the fantasy game forward. So we'll go live in about a month's time for fantasy, and then the betting platform will go shortly after that.
And please tell me.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Please tell me you guys are using the Aussie style of like $1.50, not the American style plus 500 minus 5. Please tell me.
Yeah, so you'll be able to flick between all of them.
Yeah, good. That's good.
So it's just basically a little kicker at the bottom. Yeah, I understand. It's you flick between the three models, so it'll make it easy for everyone. Yeah. It's obviously just an equation, so it's very simple to fix that.
What sports are you guys starting off with? Yeah. Or are you just going at it?
So the first is just English Premier League. So we're going to do pre-match English Premier League, just because we're going to market so fast. Like generally, most companies could take a year to build something like this out or more. Is we'll go to market with English Premier League and only pre-match odds, and then we'll build out from there. Obviously, the in-match odds are a lot riskier in terms of the bookmaker side. And again, for peer-to-peer, it doesn't matter as much, but we also need to protect people with what we're building. So we'll start with pre-match English Premier League. And that's why we're going to start with the game also, is just to get it out there and get it to as many people as we can. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but like there's FanDuel and DraftKings in America, and they have about 80% of the market in America on bookmakers, on the sports book, sorry. And they all started as a game. So there's sort of that proven model that getting people to know the brand. And in terms of crypto, because we've got a few plays here. One, there's, the profitability of the bookmaking side. You take the small winning fee of 1% on the peer-to-peer betting side. But as a company, it's about driving the token value as well. And so as you're aware, just from your experience in crypto, community is so important. And that's where the game can really take off, because we can attract so many users who are the current play to earn. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Axie and the popularity of that recently, but it's a game where you I don't actually fully understand the game, but you play to earn basically. The current market cap's about 4.5 billion. And just tapping into that, it's been one of the biggest gainers in crypto this year. And just tapping into that whole audience of play to earn as such. And there's no risk. So, why wouldn't you have a bit of fun? And then it goes into other avenues where you could set up tipping competitions amongst your friends and that sort of thing, having a centralized place to do that. It's pretty exciting.
What's the public response been like? I mean, we've been on Telegram. It looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, no, it's all because the thing is going back to where I was working before, which was a banking platform, just boring. You know what I mean? You can talk about loan and these sort of things, or what you can do in the future, but you're just recycling the same stuff over and over in terms of promotion. Whereas I'm not sure if you've seen BetU's Twitter and that, it's always sport and esport, and every day there's new events that are coming up, whether it's the tennis or Formula One or the football's just started, college football last week. We've always got content to play, and it's also relevant to us. Yeah. And same with marketing, we can go to Steph Curry just come out yesterday and said that, he's new to crypto and he's getting into it, and so we can approach these people and say, well, look, this is what we're doing. And it's also relevant to them. It's not like, say, Steph Curry just turns around and says, go bank on this platform. Who gives a shit? But if he says, place a bet on this game or whatever, say if he's talking about the football, he's obviously not going to be talking about his own basketball games, but so it's just exciting. The sport and the esport market is just absolutely massive, as I'm sure you're aware, in terms of gaming, and it's just growing. There was $20 billion wagered on esports last year. So people watching other people play video games, 20 billion was wagered on it. And obviously that audience is huge into crypto, so we're sort of going at it both sides. And Brent's got a few fake, one's called Forks John Madden, which is basically a fake John Madden account where he pretends to be John Madden, the commentator. And he's been doing that for about 10 years, and he's got about 250,000 followers on there. So he's got a lot of experience in that whole sport, social media, which is exciting, and he's quite a funny guy. So it's good to see, and we can just have fun with it, because our target market is you guys. It's guys who want to have a laugh, want to have a good time, similar to sports bet in Australia, where they obviously have a good laugh and stuff. We want to create something similar to that.
The sports degenerates are way more fun than the banking degenerates, you'd have to say.
That's for sure. Absolutely.
And it's just legalized in America now, right? Sports gambling.
Well, it's getting rolled out on a state-by-state basis. So originally, and again, that's another reason for the game, because we won't allow bets in America with our initial license because of licensing, because it's restricted. But so in America, you have to apply state-by-state. So there's only, I think it's about 21 states at the minute, could be more, could be less, that have legalized gambling, and you've got to apply on a state-by-state basis. So it's definitely an aim for us, but it's down the track. I'd love to start looking at licensing in 2022, but initially we'll shut it off, and that's why, at least with the game, we can roll it out worldwide without any issues there.
So give us an idea about the market cap of the industry, and then compare that to your market cap.
The market cap of which?
The sports gambling industry, yeah.
Well, so I'll have to just bring up the exact figures 1 second here, because I don't want to quote you wrong.
Allegedly.
But I did a little, I'll try and find us
It'll be like 50 billion or something.
I think it is that, actually.
It's like tens of billions, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of, I was trying to see if I could see some information I wrote to a promoter the other day. It was basically, if you took the market cap of the top 50 cryptos, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, more is gambled on sport every year than all of those cryptos combined.
Wow.
So it sort of shows the potential of what we're doing. But there was 4.3 billion wagered on Super Bowl last year, 23.5 billion wagered on esports, and 169 billion wagered online on sport. And a total on sport was 391 billion. So
that's ridiculous.
It's obviously it's a massive, and that's why I don't understand when people say, I'm not promoting gambling. It's like I get it in some regards, but when you're talking about you'll promote a crypto, it's like,
they're all vices.
Some like moral thing, like not gambling, but the shit coin, like no problem. It's just the circus. But anyway, sorry.
What's your market cap? Is it? I think it's at 8 million now.
So we're at about it's about 8 or 9 million. So obviously, there's an enormous potential there. Because we're using, it's a crypto project, there's so many out there that have just plugged in a crypto for the sake of either raising funds or whatever they're trying to do. They've just created this crypto. Whereas with what we're doing, we're making the crypto is the sole purpose of it. And so you have to have it to bet. You have to have it to play the game. And by doing that, we can create enormous demand on it. And when a new user comes and if they've placed a bet, potentially you could actually lose your bet but still win if the crypto price has gone up in terms of like a fiat value. Obviously, it can also go the other way as well, where you can lose more. But by having that currency, it means we don't need to worry about any exchange rates or things like that. And we're making it the sole thing. So you don't bet in US dollars, you bet in tokens. So when you say you're odds 2 to 1, that's 2 BetU tokens to 1 BetU token.
Okay.
So it's everything to do with it. And then that's the way to increase the demand is obviously through the user, through betting traffic, but also through new users on the game. But in terms of reducing supply, basically there's the winning fee of 1% on peer-to-peer side, 25% of that gets burnt. So reducing the supply of every single bet. And then of the bookmaker margins, 25% gets burnt. So we're continually be reducing the supply. And obviously the whole concept, the price should increase, all things being equal.
So with the BetU token, you said you bet with that token. How do you bet with it if it's so volatile? It's like the Nassim Taleb critique of Bitcoin where he says, how can it be a currency if it's so volatile? Are people just going to have to accept that?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's the fun part. A few people saying it's gambling squared. You're gambling on the crypto and you're gambling on the sporting event. And
that's true.
In terms of you as a user, hopefully once it gets more common, you're only seeing it as the token. Like you're not necessarily seeing it as it's what is it now? It's 10 cents or 8 cents or whatever it is, and then it's 10 cents, or you're seeing it just as tokens. You have how many BetU tokens in your betting account, and you have 1,000 tokens, whatever it is. That's what you're seeing, and that's what you're betting with. You're not always doing the conversion. That would be the end goal, where you're not constantly, when you go overseas and you're like euro to Australian dollars, or what is it? Or then after some time, you're just in euros. And so we hope it's the same thing where people just get used to it. That's what we're playing with. It's BetU tokens, and that's its currency, and that's the end goal of it.
You 100% get used to it. I stake my Cardona, and like even when it goes into like a bearish trap or a bear market, you just think about its peak price. It's all-time high. So even like you get like a little bit every few days or something, even though it's worth a quarter of it could be, you kind of think that, no, this could one day be worth 4x. So
just, it adds another layer of risk to it all. And we're all risk junkies anyway in this market.
But
for sure. I agree with you.
What countries, because America is still kind of, a lot of it's illegal there. What are the biggest countries, like including Australia?
Well, so Europe is going to be our core target initially because we're going into the Premier League. But then with what we're doing, every country really, even a small country in terms of betting, can still do enormous things for the valuation of the crypto. So like we are trying to go truly global eventually. And I almost think in some ways we'd be better off sort of targeting it to say some small countries and really getting a good market share in that country rather than trying to go completely global. But yeah, it's no point even really narrowing it down because it's such a global audience with what we're doing. It's more going to be based, I think, on the sports we go after as well. And we'll open it up completely eventually. We might stay away from Russian ping pong, but
sumo wrestling.
There's basically with BetRadar, we can basically plug into pretty much any sport you could think of. Badminton, it's the whatever we want, we could plug into. So the market, and they just try and feed you markets. Yeah. But we're not sure if we want to go down that path completely with the live odds, especially because that's when you take the risk on the bookmaker side. But in peer-to-peer side, see, eventually what we want to do is open it up. And before I sort of realized how easy it is for us actually to integrate with someone like BetRadar, we're originally going to go to just the peer-to-peer model. And we've actually sort of planned on it being so much more difficult than what it really is where when we open up bets to anything, so it just need to be a public result. So you could bet on the local football or rugby in Australia or whatever it is. You'd be able to place a bet with someone over BetU. And so the way that would work is with gambling, you need to be able to prove a result. So if I have a bet with you guys, for example, it's like, how do we decide who won? And because if you want to create a random bet, like I used an example yesterday with the journalist, it was like, what color shoelaces is Lionel Messi going to wear for his first game or whatever it is. There's not going to be feeds for that information. Like we're not going to be able to plug into, say, Chainlink or BetRadar and get that information. So it has to be public. But so what we come up with a honest bet system, and the way that would work is, say, this only applies if we can't get a feed. Yeah. So in that case of Lionel Messi's shoelaces, obviously it's going to be public knowledge because someone could look up the game and then be able to identify what color shoelaces he had on. But when you place the bet, say it was just head-to-head, $100, 100 BetU tokens, winner takes all, then you have to put in an extra 30% as an honesty reserve. And so that's just held for at the end of the result. You guys both know if you won or lost, yeah? At the end of the event, you put in whether you won or lost. And if I put in I won and you put in that you lost, then we know that I won because I was the only one that selected win and you selected loss. So then you get your honesty reserve back, but I get the honesty reserve plus I won the bet. Yeah. But if we both selected win, because you're trying to cheat, then it goes to referees, and that's where we would involve other people in the community, and that'll be a random selection. So there's no real way to bribe a referee or anything like that, and it would be completely random. They would also get penalised if they gave false results. But that's how we'll eventually open it up to bet on absolutely anything that is a public event. And it sort of works in a similar way. It works in a similar way to like Bitcoin mining, how they try and penalize people for trying to cheat the system. It's the same sort of thing. It's just that we do it manually because you have to because you can't get feeds for every random bit of information.
I just love the idea between like having bets between your mates and like you go, yeah, I'll bet you $200 that Australia Wallabies are going to win. Yeah. And then they go, yeah, sweet. But and you shake your hand on it or something. Yeah.
There's always one way.
It means nothing. It always goes both ways. It's always like, you know what? Don't worry about it. But you should be like this time. No, let's do it on BetU.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
You actually have a place to do it.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's like it is I feel that's more like a fun thing that you'd have with your mates. Where I don't consider that like a significant market for what we're trying to do. But for sure, it's fun and it's definitely a use case. But in terms of huge volume and stuff, it's not really where the volume is on major sports and major markets.
And talk to us about some competitors. So you've got an 8 million market cap and the market cap of the industry is massive. So what are some competitors to you guys in the crypto space?
In the crypto space. So I consider our competitors what we want to go after is the majors and trying to get market share. our biggest audience isn't even in crypto. It's, it's the people using Bet365, for example, or in America, FanDuels and DraftKings. But in terms of crypto, we don't really have many competitors, and there's certainly no one doing it well. Augur, I guess, is probably the closest to what we're trying to do. And Augur's at about 200 million
market cap,
but it's like just a prediction market, and it's not so easy to use. And they actually use rep tokens, but their token isn't a core element of what they're doing. And they don't offer the bookmaker services as well. And so I don't really think we have a true competitor in crypto for what we're trying to do.
Have the big companies like Bet365, are they looking into this crypto and they're like making moves, or no?
I've got no idea. We do have a CEO from one of the leading bookmakers invested in BetU though.
Wow, that's big. Skin in the game.
What about like dealing with governments? Has there been any issues yet, or because that's always
so our initial license is going through Curacao, so we have to submit the demo platform before we actually get the license. I don't see it being an issue whatsoever. There's 4 options there. We just finished our incorporation in Curacao a few days ago, actually. So we'll obtain that license, which will open up most of the world. And then there's certain places that we need to go, like America, that we need to go for individual state-by-state licenses.
Who are some companies in the crypto space that like you appreciate, or like you would like to work with maybe one day?
There's certainly a lot I would like to work with. My favorite company is, it's just my favorite person is Alex Machinsky from Celsius. He's just an incredible human being. And if you look at his portfolio, he was basically like one of the inventors of VoIP. One of the first people I think he was the first people to put Wi-Fi into like the New York Underground, I think it was.
Right.
And so his Celsius is basically the leading lending platform. So if you want to say, if you've got your Cardano, for example, you put it in with Celsius, he'll give you 6% a year or whatever the current rate is. But the lending functions is so incredible, where if you've got your Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, any of the majors, you basically, if you want to loan up to 25% of the value, within like a few minutes, you'll get USDT back. They'll hold your crypto, but you still own it. They're just holding it as collateral. You could take 25%, 50%, and the higher LVR or loan value ratio, then you have to pay more interest. But if you wanted to just get, say, a short-term loan of, say, if you had $10,000 worth of Cardano and you wanted to get a $2,000 loan, you plug in with Celsius, and I think it's like 1% or something. And it takes a few minutes. You can also get fiat into your bank account. So if you've got your Bitcoin, you don't want to sell it, but you need to paint the house, you take out a loan, they'll send it to your bank account. You still own your Bitcoin. So it gives you that freedom now, which is just really changing the game in terms of, beforehand, say, people go all in on crypto, or they've maxed out their credit cards or whatever crazy business they've done. You can stake your Bitcoin now and actually get cash in your bank account. So, and the reason I think he's just incredible is obviously the things he's done previously, but it was back in, February or something, when Bitcoin was 60K or whatever it was. And he's like, no, Bitcoin will touch 30,000 and then we'll go again. And anyway, sure, he said that then, and it was flying. And what happened? It got to, I think it was 29.5 or something.
He must be one of the whales, that lad.
Well, I'm sure he is. I have no doubt he is. But it's also, I think, because he's controlling so much money with how much is in Celsius, you can sort of see the movement a little bit more. And he obviously has huge knowledge in terms of the industry and what's coming up and whatever else. But yeah, I'd highly recommend following
Celsius.
him. He's the one. So that's a problem with crypto, is it's just overwhelming with the amount of people. And you've got for someone like Vitalik, who's so incredibly intelligent, but it's like it's way above my pay grade to be able to try and work out what he's actually talking about with the how Ethereum works. But in terms of just the movement, like with Celsius, it's traditional finance in a lot of ways. He's just simplified it.
I love how Vitalik and Charles Hoskinson, they look so unhealthy. It just shows you they've been working so hard, man. They're just indoors coding all fucking day.
I'm glad they're on our team. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they're just extraordinary.
There's so much innovation in the space. It must be like one of the only times in history where all the best innovators have just come together in the one space.
Well, it's so interesting too, like where you think about it, there's people out there that have, there's someone out there who's got 1 million Bitcoin, and then there's people who have hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins, and you think it's just a computer geek sitting at home who can just go bang one day and just screw everybody.
Yeah.
Like it would take one huge jump, and it would create so much havoc. But yeah, no, it's an incredible industry. It's also so much absolute rubbish in the industry as well. So it's like, it's so many of it's so overinflated, but then there's also such opportunities in some spots too. So it's just, I always get nervous when people, people come in and be like, what about this? What about this? I'm earning. There was one I was talking the other day, it was about one of the play to earn games. It was obviously trying to partner up with as many companies as we can. And they're saying, you just play this game and then you earn this. And I'm like, well, how is that sustainable? And they're like, it's not. Oh, right. I said, you just got to get in and out before it. What's sustainable? So, but it's so true. It's like, you can't just keep, you're just creating this and then, just keep giving out the money. It's got to end somewhere. But that's why I think a lot of because there's so many projects in crypto now that I think people talk about, the US government's printing money. They are printing money, but it's also backed by an army. You know what I mean? Like it's whereas in crypto, people are just printing money and it's backed by absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary about it as well. But some of those nothings are worth billions and billions of dollars.
In theory, it's backed
but it's just all about community. And that's why I've got such a great opportunity with this, because we can just plug into just one individual sport like EPL. Like there's, 1 billion people who probably watch English Premier League. And it's an extraordinary opportunity for us to capitalize on that community and really take advantage. And to me, that's everything in crypto. That's why I deal with Doge, for example. It's all it is community. Everyone knows it's just a fun coin or whatever, but that's what it is. And people know what it is, and it's perfect for crypto, I
think that's what
you don't need all this. You don't need to be solving the world's problems all the time. And I think with a lot of them, it doesn't make sense. Like blockchain doesn't make sense for a lot of things. Just use a database. You know what I mean? Not everything needs to be on chain and slow it down. It's like, but sure, it's an incredible time, and there is so many amazing people in the industry, and there's a lot of great things that blockchain and crypto are already solving. A lot of problems that they're solving. But yeah, it's just interesting to see where it'll go. We're going to have the same thing that we did in 2022. We'll have another crash like we did in 2018, 19. Like you just can't keep going up. People come in now and say, I think this is the new sort of bottom. But yeah, I think you just can't have, the last year, like everyone's making so much money on random coins. It just doesn't make sense. Someone has to lose at some point.
Yeah. What are some of the advantages of your platform over like non-blockchain betting companies like Bet365? Like why should people use BetU?
Well, for one is that you've got hopefully when we develop our user base, you're going to have better odds and bigger winnings because we take less of a fee. And that's sort of the main draw card as because we have the bookmaker side, so we'll have basically the same odds as Bet365. But then, say, for example, in the current industry, Betfair has the best odds. It's a true market, and you'll get the best odds on Betfair, but liquidity is the issue. Whereas with us, we'll have both. We'll have liquidity at the bookmaker odds, but we'll also have the competing with Betfair in terms of the best odds in the market.
Yeah.
And then obviously
really want.
We did, but they say like a few of our sort of advisors, Sportsbet, for example, apparently doesn't have some of the best odds, but their odds are not that good, but they get people in based off their marketing.
Yeah.
And people just want to play. So in terms of when you mention that, apparently it's not necessarily true that people just want the best odds. I think they want the best odds, but then they also just want a platform that's easy, that they like, and they're happy with. And so providing that user experience is really important. And our product manager, Graham's doing a fabulous job in, as I mentioned before, about gamifying it. And because we're not as driven by just profit, because to us, increasing the token value is a lot more valuable than our bottom line. And that's why, you know, obviously we're burning the margins and stuff like that, is we can do a lot more things in terms of improving usability and the user experience.
Yeah, that's what they say about Robinhood. The people just love it because the platform is so easy to be used. Even when it went to shit last year, people are like, you know what, I'm going to stay.
Yeah, because
it's just the best.
Interface, yeah.
So it's so important.
That's a big factor.
Well, that's what when I mentioned before about Celsius, it's exactly the same. When I logged on for the first time to test it out, like, you know, when you start you go on, say, to a new exchange and it gets a little bit overwhelming and there's the futures here and the markets here and where's your wallet, where do you deposit, all this sort of thing. Yeah. Celsius was just so clean and easy where you just put it in, you get your loan, simple as that.
Yeah. Is that what you guys are aiming for? Something just simple, easy, clear?
Oh, for sure. We want to, and I'm not sure if have you used the platform at all in terms of the, so there's a YouTube video I put out a few weeks ago just about an update of where everything's at, and just runs through like the swap functionality. So you can come in. Obviously, we need to attract people who aren't in crypto, but one of our biggest audiences initially will be crypto because you have to be in it because we're not going to have the fiat gateway initially. Is you basically deposit your Bitcoin in and you can instantly swap to BetU. So on the back end, we've integrated with Pancake Swap, so there's that liquidity there. But for a user, you just go buy BetU, bang, it's in your account straight away, and you can be betting within a couple of seconds.
Yeah, on the BetU side, the token side of it, so you're on Pancake Swap. What other exchanges are you planning to go to? Yeah,
I can't mention a few. I've already signed 2 NDAs. But we do want to go, obviously, Binance is the end goal, but we need to build that community first. I haven't actually applied for Binance yet. I don't think there's a point until we build that community. We need to get the number of holders right up in terms of how many people have actually in the wallets, and you can track that all on Binance Smart Chain. We have, or BSC scan. We started off with 600 after the public sale, and as of yesterday, it was about 1,600. So we got a new 1,000 within the first week, which is awesome. I'd love to start ramping that up as well. But I want to have one major before the end of the month. And I was just actually, maybe you can tell me, do you think there's a few sort of tier 2, tier 3 exchanges that we've got options to go on to? Do you think it's a good idea to get onto one just for the sake of getting onto one, or you think it's better to wait for one of the majors?
I think getting onto one, like, for example, SwiftX, which is an Aussie-made one, would be a good idea. That's just my gut feeling.
And I'm sure, you know, they got a lot of respect, like, around Australia, like, just what they're doing. They don't seem like they got a pure community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't know who Binance is really. That's kind of their motto.
CoinSpot, yeah.
And they give a shit. So that'd be really interesting, you guys getting connected.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll check it out.
Aussies love gambling, so.
They do. I have no doubt about that. I think I said the average person in Australia, like the average per capita, loses $1,000 a year on gambling. Like I think it's $900 and something is that every person on average loses in Australia.
This is a bit of a flex here, mate, but we got the trifecta last year at the Melbourne Cup.
Oh, down.
Yeah.
So us and 3 or 4 other mates, we got the trifecta. And then as soon as I got the trifecta, I deleted Sportsbet for about 4 months because I was like, I'm fucking getting out of here on a win.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good on you for actually having that, what do you call it? The composure, I guess, or like the smarts to actually get out when you. But now you've put it all back in, haven't you?
Yeah.
4 months today. What did the trifecta pay out?
Oh, I put $5 on and I got $2,000 back.
I put $20 on, I got $6,000 back.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just moved out that week as well. My mates, 3 of our other mates, because I made Tom Fagan's dad, he gave us a tip. And so the 3 of us got it, like 4 of us, right?
Yeah, 4 of us put it on.
It was a big night that night, that's for sure.
Also, how many horses did you actually tip? Like, in
It was
the.
the box trifecta. So he tipped 3. I think it was in any order.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
got
so
it.
you only put 3 horses on, like you didn't do a
Correct.
4 horse into 3 or.
No. And because the horses that came second and third, or the horses that came first and second were such high odds, the trifecta odds just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Wow, that's pretty awesome to
Yeah.
select all 3. Like usually, I've got a few mates big into betting, but they might put choose like 5 or 6 horses in the race to get the trifecta. But that's awesome. Congratulations.
Shout out to Michael Fagan, you legend. Any plan for NFTs? That's a big market,
Yeah.
especially in sports.
Well, one of the plans we have for it is actually as rewards, especially on both platforms, where we'll partner with, say, specific athletes in the different leagues we're offering. So say it's English Premier League. We will try and partner with one of the players and offer some sort of NFT for the champion or whoever, say, is the best, the biggest volume better for the month or whatever it is. That's sort of where we're mostly looking at it to use it, is actually authentic prizes.
Yeah, they're blowing up now. Hey,
It's wild.
It is, but it's also, man, it's this. I feel it's a similar thing to what happened. There was obviously the DeFi, last year, which was going mad. And now it's NFTs. I feel you just got to ride that wave. And that's what I was mentioning about communities. It's just that you just got to, people want to be on the winner. As you said, you guys a short price favorite is better than a long price. No, a short price winner is better than a long price loser, and it's like people just want to win. And which is, of course, who likes to actually lose, but get on all the wagons, if the NFTs and there's DeFi and who knows what's next. But we're definitely not trying to make a set play at NFT, but I think it'd be a really cool option for us to give some authentic rewards that are just not, what everyone else is giving out, whether it's a jersey or things like that.
You seem like you've been in this game for a while, mate. Your experience and wisdom. When did you get into crypto? There's some lessons.
I actually got into crypto in it was like 2017 at Burning Man. So
we're gonna get into that.
Me and my friend Scott Parry, who's actually our CFO. Scott's Australian from Melbourne, runs a massive money management company in Australia, and we were in a big RV driving from. I can't remember where we picked it up. I think it was Reno. I've gone a few times, so I forget which year was which, but I think it was Reno, and we were driving to Black Rock City, and we'd sort of look at it, and then we're just like, back then they were talking about how big of a bubble, obviously, it was all in terms of Ripple and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these other ones that had popped up. And obviously back then it was maybe like 3,000 for Bitcoin and $70 for Ethereum or something like that. But and when you go into Burning Man, you get like your book or whatever of all the different events you can go to, and there's like different crypto events at Burning Man that you can go and learn. And I wouldn't actually be surprised if someone at Burning Man is Satoshi, to be honest. But you could go and learn. And we had this one course that we're going to try and get to. But anyway, we ended up going to Mind Warrior for sunrise, I think, which is a huge party.
You're distracted by the orgy tents.
Yeah. And we both slept in and missed the crypto lecture. And it probably cost Scott, actually. I don't think he'll mind me telling you this, but he was sort of on the fence, and obviously was flying in 2017. And I'm pretty sure Scott bought the very top order at the end of 2017 before it comes spiraling down. So he was a bit slow getting into it. So I think he regrets that one sunset that we watched.
As Coinskip says, buy big green candles, get big green dildos.
And that was a 20K probably. So if he just held on to it now, he's killed.
Yeah, if he was just patient, for sure. And he's a very wise man. But he was just a bit slow getting into it. But it would have been good to actually gone to that lecture. And next Burning Man, I would have loved to have gone this year. It was actually on. They had a Renegade burn, which looked awesome from all the photos and videos I saw. But it would have gone back to what it was, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to keep going to Burning Man, or are you going to be one of those CEOs who, it's very normal?
No, Burning Man is the best place on the planet.
Wow. Yeah, fuck.
By hands down, it is my favorite place in the world. And we were actually meant to go for Scott's 40th this year. He wanted to have a party there, and it's just a magic experience. I actually wanted to get my parents there at some stage.
Why is it so magic?
Yeah, it's just that, again, it comes back to community, but it is that. It's like, because there's no money, so everyone's on a equal playing field in a lot of ways. Like, and not to say a playing field, it's just this whole mass community that are there for good reasons. You know, it's all about giving. Everyone's giving gifts to different people. It's you go to someone's camp and they're like, oh, here, have some food, have a drink, and people putting on these parties just for they want you to have a good time. You know what I mean? So it's like you can be riding across the desert, and then there's an old lady there who's set up like a candy store, and she's like, oh, come in and have some candy, and she'll give you like some money to put into her candy machines, and then you get the candy and you drive off. Or there's a party called the District, and it's just this raging day party. And then sort of it's like 40 degrees or whatever it is, and it might get to 4 o'clock, and then all these Russian girls come out with like ice creams and give you ice creams just for fun. You know, it's just everything's there for fun and an experience. And there's all people from all ways of life. Like personally there, I've seen Russell Brand, Elon Musk, like Paris Hilton and these sort of people. But then you have one of my favorite memories actually was like, this guy had this beautiful fur jacket, and on the back of it was like full TV screen. Like it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I went up and I was like just stroking it. And I was like, that's a beautiful jacket. And he said, yeah, it cost him like $50,000 to make this jacket. And anyway, there's another guy on the other side who's just nude, just batting his jacket as well. But it's all kinds of people, and it's just the most beautiful experience. And the art, the things that people put in, the amount of effort and money as well, but it's just the most beautiful place. Like some people take in a 747 jet, chop the roof off it, and then turn it into like a restaurant or a nightclub. You could go and sit down for a four or five course meal. You don't pay a cent. You just go in and they're catering for you. You're riding across the player, and there's say like an old school vinyl record player that you can sit there and play and listen to, and someone's just put all their treasures out there. Just an incredible experience.
It sounds like what communism thinks it will be, like what they want to be.
It's just a week of
yeah.
Sorry?
Be like a reboot of your mind of like what humanity's like.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the aliens must look down on us, and for that week they say, we finally got it right. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, because there's so much lights and lasers and everything. It would be incredible to actually see from space. But yeah, I'd highly recommend going. And yeah, next year maybe we can have a BetU reunion. Although there is one strict rule at Burning Man: you can't do any like sponsorship or promotion and stuff. So everything, you don't see any of that, and that's what makes it beautiful as well. There's no ad. The only advertising you really see is the RVs, and obviously because they've already got their, whoever built the RV on it.
You've convinced me. You've sold me on that. I'm going soon as well.
I try and sell everyone. It's just an incredible experience, and the people you meet, we have memories for life.
Back to winning and losing and money. When do you anticipate a large scale adoption of BetU?
It's hard to know. I'd love to in 2022. I'd like to be taking some serious revenue through betting volume. I don't think it'll take long, to be honest, because it's new and unique, and as long as we make the user experience really good. But in terms of the game, like I'm expecting 20 to 50,000 users within the first 2 months. Because we can go after a huge community that are desperate for a helping hand. You know what I mean? They want to earn some money. They're trying to earn some money, but depending on the country they're in, they just can't. And so by giving them a helping hand, it also helps us, and we give them something to potentially believe in. If they start playing and win a few tokens and stuff, and they believe in the project, and then they start promoting it. And that's where you can get real momentum, when you have these people on Twitter all day that are just saying, BetU, BetU, BetU. to all the different influencers and stuff, and building that hype train. And we start off with the English Premier League with the game, and then we'll say going to the UFC, NBA. It's endless. And obviously although say the NFL and NBA are both American and the EPL's the UK, it's still a global game to most people. Like a huge audience follow it worldwide, and we can really tap into that. And then obviously you've got esport, with Counter-Strike and Fortnite, etc. So one of my friends from high school, actually, he's the CEO at Game Square, and we've been speaking to him about potentially sponsoring their Counter-Strike team. So there's a lot of options there on the table with all industries, though, like sponsorship and stuff. One of the key things we want to go after, though, is key influencers who actually are influential. It's not someone who's just, say, showing their tits or ass and has got
Get the vax.
a million followers or whatever, but it's also about people that actually have influence.
Yeah.
We recently did a campaign with Satoshi Stacker, who's he's actually
Sick name.
he's got a huge following for his actual analysis, which actually shows when people really believe what he's saying versus someone who's promoting, say, a different project every week. And so that's going to be a key for us to go after those sort of guys. So we'll continue working with people like him. In terms of a mass adoption, it's going to be I don't really do too much forecasting at the start of a business, because you just don't know. And I feel like it can just be, you're always going to be so far wrong. I feel like we need to get into the market. We have a strategy for getting into the market. And then after the first 30 days, we can say, all right, this is where we're at. Now we can sort of do some projections of what we're going to do moving forward. But in terms of just now, like saying what the volumes, like it's just not possible to even predict exactly. It only takes to get a few decent people, like big punters, to get on behind BetU, and the volumes could be massive. I think it was, I forget the actual numbers, but it was like 10 million or something he bet on the guy from, forget his name, Mattress Mac from, he put on his, the baseball team to win the World Series. And he's set out to win, say, I don't know, whatever it is, 50 million, something crazy.
Yeah.
But so then he put on a furniture sale for his mattress store. And so if you buy up to 5,000, I think it's 5,000, so just don't quote me on the figures, but $5,000 worth of furniture before X date, if their side wins, you get a refund fully, you get the full 100% back on the furniture you bought. So he's sort of funding his bet by selling his furniture if he wins.
They're always smart, the whales. They always are one step ahead.
For sure.
Are you going to do horse racing? Because I know a lot of our degenerate mates love horse racing.
For sure, it's the game to plug into horse racing. Again, because horse racing is so fast and changes so rapidly, we won't be in it initially, but definitely. We aim to be in all major sports, and obviously in Asia, horse racing, or Australasia, horse racing is massive. But the rest of the world sports betting is far superior to horse racing, but definitely. We'll also virtual sports as well, in terms of like the virtual dogs and horses. And there's actually virtual tennis, which I have no idea why people would watch that ever, but they do, and they bet on it. So.
Maybe a few years ago.
Sorry.
I used to bet on trackside when I was like 16, 17. I was a trackside head. I get Hoyts. This is when I was irresponsible and didn't have a developed brain, but I used to get my Hoyts payment. I get paid $10 an hour at Hoyts. All right. And I work, 16 hours a week. I go to Tab just around the corner from my school with a few mates on a Friday night. And I think I got one good win once on trackside.
Trackside's fun.
Lost it for probably like 2 months. I didn't learn my lesson. Yeah.
That's great.
I'm a different person these days.
Give us an idea of any potential athletes.
Sorry.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I was just saying that people just find something that they want to roll the dice on, and people just get so addicted to it. And that's where you see just going all in on different projects and things. Even one of my mates texted me the other day and he said, I'll just get addicted to buying this BetU. But speaking of addiction, actually, one thing is we want to really do is give back to the the industry as well. And there's two ways we want to do that. One is 25% of the margins from the peer-to-peer side will go to helping people impacted by gambling addiction. Hopefully we can try and work with other charities that are, especially children. I would love to try and help that have, been in a family or something that's had troubles. So that's really important to us. And then the other thing is actually improving the user experience and the analytics that a bettor can get access to. So when you log into your traditional sportsbook, they don't have a long history of, like, you won't be able to see your bet history forever. It might be only a couple of months or whatever it is. And there's also certainly no dashboards where you can see, all right, I'm no good at trackside, but I'm actually okay on the football, for example. And so we want to be able to give people data so they can actually see where their performance is, what they're winning on, what they're losing on. Yeah. And because we're doing peer-to-peer, the end goal is the big volume will be in peer-to-peer. But we've obviously got the bookmaker there as well. But because we're not purely driven by profit, we can do a lot of these things. And we'd like to hope that it eventually becomes an industry standard, because they know exactly everything about you. So when we'll know everything about your betting, like we know if you're good on Russian ping pong, or if you're good on tennis, or if you're good on pre-match tennis but no good on live match tennis, or vice versa, and we can change it. So we might even delay an odd for you on the in-match tennis because we know you're sitting at the game and you've got an advantage on it. So there's all this data that we track from the back end. So you guys should get the same data to be able to see where you're good or where you're performing and where you're losing money. And we think that should be an industry standard for to make it fair on the players and just to help. Yeah, but it's a different model when you're playing just for profit, like say a traditional bookmaker versus what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, giving back's a great idea. You don't want to get the reputation of like the poker industry or just fucked.
But just in gambling in general, you never get the Ladbrokes, like kind of, it just doesn't have that dashboard for you.
Yeah.
If you say you have lost $1,000 in horse racing in the last month, if you see that, it will definitely affect you, and it'll be more responsible gambling.
Well, it's the same with your Hoyts. If they had each day, if you had gone into tracks at the local TAB and it's said, hey, Sam, so by the way, you've lost your wage for the last month on trackside. So
I wasn't meant to be there. I was 16. So don't sue me, Tab.
I missed that part about being 16.
What are some potential athletes partnerships that you guys are doing? Because you said influencers. What about athletes?
Yeah, well, so athletes in my eyes are influencers.
True,
so I wasn't trying to. Athletes are, to be honest, the ones that we want, because say, for example, we're speaking to Ash, who manages Israel Adesanya and Alex Volkanovski the other day about potentially doing some sort of relationship with them. They're both in contract at the minute, but would love to work with those guys, say, in the lead up to, say, like Volkanovski's got a fight coming out, whether it's bets on him or whatever it is, but promoting it, that'd be awesome. Same with all the sports, like to have them. And I'd like to have sort of like a cross promotion too. It's like, say, you might have a soccer player who's a mad golfer, for example, and the soccer players are giving tips on who's going to win the Masters or whatever it is. But yeah, athletes for sure. And that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing is there's hundreds of thousands of people we can go after who are influential in that space, because you don't have to go after Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? You can go after a second grade star in Brazil who's still got 100,000 followers, and they love him to death in his local town. I feel that a lot of the smaller influencers are more influential because they've actually got a targeted audience, someone from a local community in South Africa or Nigeria or whatever who plays sport, is a hero there. In the global sense, people's like, it's not a big name, but locally is a huge name.
I don't know if you watch the UFC, but Paddy the Baddie, he's just like a new up and comer, and his supporters are wild,
Yeah. Well, he got blocked from Instagram. They took his, because you probably saw his call out. He actually called out Instagram.
Fucking lizard.
That was amazing.
But so they took his account away, and it was like next day he set a new one up, and he had I think he's got 500,000 followers already. But yeah, he'll be a huge star, especially if he can. But it is key that they do win. You know, like
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley, obviously, he had that loss and it's sort of a bit of a.
He didn't lose though.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. And we see like with Connor, he obviously, went on a tear from when he got in, and that's when he just kept getting that momentum, and he's just becomes this god. It just takes a couple of losses. So hopefully Paddy the Batty can join BetU if you're out there listening.
You got to be careful with Dana White though. You don't want to mess up with him with the contracts.
No, for sure. He's a serious man, isn't he? He's done incredible though. What he's built is, incredible.
It's inspiring.
It's crazy. It makes you want to get on TRT. Have a look at that guy.
Testosterone.
What is your top 5 sports athletes of all time?
Well, top 5, you'd have to go Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Has to be pretty, especially after the documentary. That was pretty epic.
That was fucking.
I think he got a lot of people through the lockdown actually with The Last Dance, didn't he? I
was a big LeBron man before that doc, and then I watched the doc. I was like, yeah, MJ's better. Different, but I just, in my opinion.
It was was it Phil Jackson or someone come out and said, or maybe it was Dennis Rodman who just said that LeBron's recruiting all these players where Michael Jordan never did that because he thought he could win alone. So he didn't, he thought he was, and he probably could have. So, but then you'd have Muhammad Ali has to be up there for what he's done. I love Mike Tyson though as well. So, he's not in. I don't think he's in Muhammad Ali's category. Roger Federer is obviously a huge favourite, and I'm pretty devastated that Djokovic is probably about to beat his record and win the Grand Slam. Djokovic is, in my opinion, without doubt, the best tennis player, but I much prefer Roger Federer.
Just because he's so classy.
Savage to Djokovic.
If Roger Federer had Djokovic's, I feel Roger Federer can play better tennis, but Djokovic's mental state is just so incredible.
And his defense.
He's just extraordinary. Yeah. But what his achievement is just phenomenal. But I love Roger Federer. And then you have to throw in Lionel Messi now, don't you? After what he's doing recently.
Cool. I had
and 5, we have to go with my mate Dustin Martin. I reckon what he's done at the AFL. I don't think there's been a better player ever, has there?
Really? Yeah, we don't follow AFL.
What he's done. He's 3 premierships now.
He's a badass as well.
Brownlows.
Yeah.
Who else would be better than him? You'd go back to like Lee Matthews or someone, but
no surfers.
I think any of the low. Sorry,
no surfers. I've got to ask you a question about the surfers.
No, I cannot. I'm not a good surfer. I only learnt to surf since coming to Bali. I just fell in love with it. But I'll send you some pictures of a few waves from Mentawais and stuff. I've improved a little bit, but it's just an amazing. I wish I had but I grew up in the country in Echuca, so I lived on the Murray River, so we did water skiing. So the nearest ocean was, I don't know, 3 hours away or whatever it is. So never got to surf, unfortunately. But I find it's been an amazing experience because you have a new love or passion when you get a bit older. I'm not sure if I would still love it as much if I had been surfing all my life.
Do you follow this?
I think with surfers, you just got to go Kelly Slater, don't you? I don't think there's any.
Do you follow the sport? Do you follow
surfing?
It? Yeah.
Not really. Like all the guys this is how good I'm
tomorrow.
It was, I forget which guy it was, but I was we're at Uluwatu, and I was just getting smashed on the inside. There's this guy burning along the wave, and then he does this aerial and lands it. I paddle out, and I'm like, man, that was an awesome wave. And just sad congratulations, good wave. Anyway, it was one of the pro surfers because they all come here, obviously, because it's some of the best waves in the world. But it was pretty embarrassing when my mate said, I don't even know who the guy name was, but just really good wave, mate. Well done.
we had Tom Carroll on a couple of weeks back, and today Kelly Slater reposted our podcast with him. We were like, fuck, starstruck. We were like, what?
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kelly spends a lot of time here, obviously. I know last year. It was funny that it was a lockdown in Bali, and then he got in no problems. So I was like, the borders open or just for Kelly?
10 years from now, where's BetU? 10-year plan.
I'd love to see us having not even in 10 years. I feel like we can I think in 10 years, I'd love to if we actually have our own full real casino where we actually have, it's all powered by BetU. See, what I'm actually looking at doing is building out, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Decentraland, but that whole virtual reality, what I actually want to do is build a game into BetU where you can come into different casinos. And initially I'd like to have them sponsorship by, say, like the Wynn or Encore or MGM or whatever, where they design an interactive casino where you can walk in, you can go to the bar, you can chat to whichever person sitting at the bar, or some celebrities are walking around, and you have shows on the big screen. You go play your pokies, which are specifically built for us in terms of like crypto related. Yeah. And then you could go and play the tables. It's all with BetU, obviously.
In-person casino or a virtual?
Sorry?
An in-person casino or a virtual?
No, a virtual one, but not just like offering the virtual games where you could actually walk around. So it's actually a game where you walk around and you sit down at the slot machines, or you go and sit at the sports bar and you have, the waitress comes up and says, this is, what drink do you want? And she's sexy. And then you can go see a show. We might be able to partner with OnlyFans or something and do some shows in there. But I just love it if we can start to take some market share. If we took 0.1% of the market where BetU's at a few dollars, it's enormous potential we have. It's just, a long way to go. We're just getting started. So the outlook at the minute is right now, our focus is obviously getting the platforms out, and then we need to get on a key exchange. So I want in the next couple of weeks, I've got a couple of negotiations going at the minute. There's 3 top 10s in there. I hope to secure one. There's no guarantees. But otherwise we'll try and get on, say, a tier 2 or tier 3 as soon as possible, just to keep that liquidity flowing. And then it's just expanding our reach. The more people we can get into BetU and get behind it. And that's, as you mentioned before, like about the Telegram, it's a bit of a circus in there, but it's fun. As people come in, it's much better seeing all the rocket ships and whatever else is happening in there than seeing silence,
Crazy people in there, I'll tell you. All right, last question.
Hype them up. That's when people, FOMO is real.
It is a real thing.
When is the $10 party, mate? Yeah. What's the plan?
And is it at Burning Man?
I think it has to be at Burning Man, doesn't it? But otherwise, Europe, I think, is obviously an easy, sort of not, I wouldn't say easy, especially in this climate, but, a central location. But we might have to have multiple, I think.
A couple of yachts.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Smart. Yep.
Man, that's awesome. We're glad to be on board. We're fucking loving it. We'll get our mates all behind it. If you want to check it out, you can buy it on Pancake Swap at the moment. Is that correct?
Correct. You just make sure you go to betu.io or betufantasy.com, and actually make sure you're going to the right token, and just be careful, everyone out there. There's so many scams.
It's a wild west.
Just play it safe and don't FOMO in. Do your research, check it out. Read our white paper, have a look at our vision of what we're trying to do. Yeah. Get involved in the community as well, like even just going there for a laugh if you're bored, or have some fun. But the community is really what we're trying to build here. And eventually we'd love to have different country communities and obviously all the different languages and things. But get involved and
join them on Telegram. Follow the socials, Twitter. We're going. Let's go.
Thanks for your time, Paul.
Thanks for your time, man. Legend.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.